Welcome to number 4 in our series of the highly sensitive person. As you may remember, we're focusing on Arthur, who's a little boy that's about kindergarten, first grade age, and his older sister named Catherine. She's about 2 years older. And we're talking about some different situations that they're in and how their reactions are very different and their experience is very different. Arthur is our little highly sensitive child, and so he feels things deeper and he notices more. He's more quickly overwhelmed, and it's a whole different experience really for Arthur than it is for Catherine. So now we want to talk about the quality in a highly sensitive person of overloading. So they're going to go to the supermarket with mom. And here's how it is for Arthur. He's in the supermarket with mom. In the time it takes mom to select a bunch of bananas and put them in the grocery cart, Arthur has noticed the seat of the grocery cart. I can't use my fingers to count off because he feels more than that. The seat of the grocery cart is hard and cold. The fluorescent lights above are bright, and one of them is making a buzzing sound like a bee. There's something sticky and a bit yucky on the handle of the grocery cart. The label inside his t-shirt is itching him. Mom is wearing her purple skirt again. That man over there has a red beard. The air tastes like the seaside on a hot day. That lady choosing strawberries over there is humming a tune. The apples are very, very green. There's a fishy stink in the air. There are many bananas, and some are in the bunches, but some are single, and some are all yellow, but some have brown spots, and some are small, and some are big, and some are curvy, and some are quite straight. It all sounds rather exhausting, doesn't it? Well, that's just a snapshot of life for a highly sensitive child. And it doesn't even include the many deep thoughts and feelings that Arthur has in this time frame. Is it any wonder that sometimes it just all becomes too much for Arthur, and Arthur feels overwhelmed? Now we're going to talk about a situation of becoming overstimulated. Both Catherine and Arthur get overstimulated. Catherine gets overstimulated occasionally. It happens at children's birthday parties, especially her own, and the family's annual outing to a theme park, which will leave her pinging off the walls at bedtime. Since the situations that overstimulate Catherine are pretty rare, it's really not an issue. Mom and Dad simply ride it out. Arthur? He gets overstimulated quite often. He gets overstimulated at children's birthday parties, especially his own. And the family's annual outing to a theme park leaves him pinging off the walls at bedtime. But he can also get overstimulated on a shopping trip, or at preschool, or in the park, or even during some full-on playing at home. Arthur's threshold for becoming overstimulated is lower than Catherine's because he's more sensitive to stimuli. So the example is feeling overwhelmed. Arthur is at his sister's birthday party. Coaxed in there by his excited sister, he's in the ball pool of the jump park. All around him, a sea of colorful, squishy foam balls heaves and surges, set in motion by 20 jostling, jumping children. Above the sound of their shouts and squeals, music is pounding. Tears are pricking at Arthur's eyes. He doesn't want to cry. He doesn't want to ruin the party or get laughed at by the other children or get told off for creating a drama. He's fighting the tears, and they're quickly turning to anger. Arthur doesn't know why he is tearful. He doesn't know why his heart is beginning to pound, and he is about ready to pick up some balls and hurl them across the room in rage. He watches the other children playing happily, and he wonders, what is wrong with me? An adult can see at a glance that Arthur is simply overwhelmed by his environment. But Arthur's only little. Without support from a grown-up, he isn't able to understand what he is feeling, much less why, and even less what he can do to feel better. But life isn't always way too much for the highly sensitive child. It's often just a little too much. Often. Usually daily. The highly sensitive child may feel bothered by all sorts of things on a day-to-day basis. An itchy label in his pajamas, worn every night. A broken smoke alarm that beeps softly but incessantly for weeks. A funny smell coming from the bath plug hole. How big a bother is and how many little bothers add up to one big bother depend on how sensitive the child is. Now we're going to talk about supper time for Arthur. So Mom is gone and Dad is cooking them dinner, baked potatoes with cheese. When Arthur sees the plate, he says at once, "No, they can't be touching. The potato goes there and the cheese goes there, not together. That's how Mom makes it." Arthur's father says, "Don't be silly. It makes no difference. It makes no difference. Be grateful for your dinner and just eat it." Arthur bursts into tears and Dad gets angry. Dad cannot understand why Arthur is in such a state over a baked potato with cheese. It doesn't remotely bother him to have cheese on top of his potato, melting nicely. He thinks Arthur is being very fussy and making a mountain out of a molehill. But Arthur is distraught. He really, really loves baked potato and cheese. With cheese, not baked potato and cheese, all melted together. He doesn't want to make Dad cross, but he just cannot eat the potato and the cheese this way. This is just the last straw. First, Dad insisted that Arthur sit on the wrong side of the table next to the fish tank that makes that annoying dripping sound, and it smells. Then Catherine said that when he started school, no one would want to play with him, and then she poked him and it really, really hurt, and then he sipped his drink and it tasted like dishwater liquid, and now his dinner looks yucky. Arthur is really, really upset. All Dad sees is a little boy who's being needlessly fussy about a potato with melted cheese. But lots of a little too much has brought Arthur to a place where he's struggling to cope. So highly sensitive people find that they need so very much. They need to feel self-worth. They need to feel calm. They need to feel cautious. They need to connect. They need to create. And they need help creating that for themselves. And they need help learning how to strengthen the veil that helps them feel safe and comfortable and protected. So next time we're going to talk about the need to be cautious and a little bit about that as an example in the highly sensitive person. So let me go back over this just with a couple extra ideas. Pay attention to your highly sensitive child or adult and notice. So I went through experiences. I have 2 children, a son who is highly sensitive from birth, and a daughter who is not. And so one place I noticed it was in their birthday parties. I had not a clue how to do a birthday party for a highly sensitive child. And so I just watched and then visited with my son. And I noticed that if we tried to have, say, quite a handful of little friends over for his birthday party, it wasn't really anything he enjoyed. He endured it. And he was polite and said thank you for his gifts and different things like that. But he was not, you could tell he was cautious and just not at ease. So I started to notice, and when he got old enough to express what he really wanted, he wanted his best little friend over, spend the night. He wanted the same menu, his favorite pizza and his favorite beverage or whatever. And it was kind of like, and he was just, he loved it. And he'd say, "Oh, Mom, that was my best birthday party ever." And I'd think, It didn't even feel like we really had a party, but he was comfortable. A few times we had maybe 2 friends, 3 friends, and then only one friend, his best friend, spent the night. So we had the little party, then we took everybody else home, and his best friend spent the night. And they were really, really good friends of ours. And so I came to realize that I needed to provide an environment where he felt safe, content. He could anticipate it because he got to help plan it. And all those things mattered, all of it. But as long as we did that, which it wasn't difficult at all, he just loved it and enjoyed it, and it was a wonderful experience. Are we okay? Oh. And so little sister came along, and her idea of a birthday party was to invite the entire classroom of kids from school. And I'm like, that's too much. We can't do that. We don't have a big enough house. Like, I can't handle 20, 25 kids. And so I would have to limit hers, but we always had a theme, and we always had way more children at her brother's parties. But that's what was fun for her. That's what made it special. And she would say, oh, Mom, thank you. That was the best party we've ever had. And she loved it. And she still does. And so those are traits that are lifelong. And part of teaching our children that veil is for them to discover or understand or accept, or for us to respect when they speak up about it, as to what is their dream for a birthday party. So here it is, little sister or big sister here was having a jump party. And you would just assume, well, of course Arthur wants to go along and be a part of the party because, this is the family, this is sister having a birthday party. But I'd be tempted to ask him and say, would you really like to go? Would you like to bring your best friend along so you can play together? Or would you like to have a babysitter and your best friend over and you stay home and have fun with your friend, and we'll take sister and all her friends to the jump park party? So you know your child, and you want to ask and give them other options. So there's all kinds of choices, all kinds of things we can say yes to or no to. And you may find that if you have a little Arthur, that maybe he would like an alternative choice. And it wasn't that fun for Arthur. It was all too chaotic, all too noisy, and all too overwhelming. And you'll notice that he felt anxious, and that turned into anger. So sometimes when you see your child act out and you're thinking, wow, what's that all about? Like, what happened? Did somebody hit him or kick him or push him or whatever? But it was feelings that Arthur felt from the inside out, and then didn't know how to process them, and then didn't know how to communicate. And so as a parent, you want to plan ahead, think ahead, do what you can to help your child so that they don't have to have outbursts, for one thing, or they don't have to have a miserable time, or they don't have to get angry and frustrated because they truly do feel overwhelmed. The big crowd thing is generally not their favorite thing. Anyway, we love these little highly sensitive children that grow up to be all of these wonderful traits and qualities where they can thrive in adult life. And that's the goal of learning about the subject, learning about the child, learning about what it feels like for them. So I hope you'll join me on the next segment, and we'll be adding that soon. Thank you. Bye.